Righty then. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to give people just a few seconds to join us here. I see we have quite a few coming on just now. Thanks for joining. I see some names I know. I also see some new names, new guests. Thank you for joining us. We'll give folks just a second to get into the room. You also have, thank you. You also have, I was just pointing out the chat box where you can send a message to me or to all the panelists, which will be, hopefully John will be joining us in just a minute. We were just waiting for a couple more and I have to let him in. So welcome. Today's webinar is sponsored by SCORE, and I have to give SCORE a plug here. They are the nonprofit arm of the SBA. So we have our hands in all things SBA as well as what we're doing today with this kind of training and education. And we've been offering this for about the past 8 weeks. Let me make this guy a panelist so he could join us. John, can you hear us? John K., can you hear me now?
Yep, I'm in.
Excellent. Welcome. So John is our SCORE kind of connection here, and I'll let him talk about the workshops that we've done in SCORE for just a second, and then we'll get rolling. John will make me stop in the middle to answer questions. I do have a nice long list of questions that you submitted ahead of time. Thank you very much. If you have other questions, please don't hesitate to ask them in the Q&A, and John will monitor those. Anything else?
No, I think that's about it. I just wanted to welcome everybody to our webinar. As said, we've been hosting a number of webinars every Monday for about the past 8 weeks. A lot of them have to do with marketing and using social media and email to grow your business and navigate through all of these challenges. I will be kind of working in the background and monitoring any items that come up on the chat or the Q&A area. Cheri will take a pause sometime in the next 20 minutes or so to answer any additional questions that you haven't already submitted. So with that, I'll turn it over to Cheri and we'll get started.
Great, and I did want to mention, I put this in the chat box for you as well, a couple things. We are recording this webinar. I just checked to make sure that recording was on. I've had to redo them before. And we will send a link to the recording out to you with a password that you may view. It takes anywhere right now from 4 to 8 hours to process the video, but Zoom has been doing a really good job for us. So with that, let's go ahead and figure out how to get started. So we're talking about marketing planning today, and you might have seen in the promo, I asked the question, so did you have a marketing plan in March? And if you did, do you still have a marketing plan? Most of the answers I get to that question are, well, not really. And I think part of that is because people put a lot of thought and emotion and sweat and blood and tears into writing a marketing plan. And I write them every day for multiple clients. And I got to tell you, you might be making it harder than it has to be. So not only am I going to show you my favorite way to write a marketing plan and what goes into it, and this can be for one event. This does not have to be for your entire business. We'll talk about one particular client that I'm just getting started with that I think will make a good example. But we'll talk about how you can do marketing in little chunks and how you can take just these things that were important to you, some of the things that you've asked on your questions, and we'll talk about those. So we'll talk about the marketing plan, what it is, what it can do for you. I will talk about some marketing strategy that comes from my free ebook, The 5-Step Marketing Strategy for Small Businesses. Send you a link to download that if you like. We'll look at your market analysis. Are your customers still the same? Are they in the same place? Do they have the same buying habits? Do they have the same behaviors? We need to talk about what we're going to say and to whom. So Once we look at the market, will the market bear our product? Are there 573 yellow rubber ducky vendors in a two-mile radius? But we need to decide what we're going to say and to whom we're going to say that. Another thing I think doesn't get enough love is your magic sauce. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means. I've heard it called, on a more formal basis, your competitive advantage. So it boils down to, so what if I'm the buyer? What are you doing that is so different from someone else that I should give you my business? That's your magic sauce. We'll look at some of the tools that I think are really useful and helpful for implementation. Some of these you may already have, probably a lot of them, but I always like to slip in email marketing because I think that it's a valuable tool to have in your arsenal. And then we'll look at, how do you know if it's working? We'll take a look at some evaluation tools that we have available in different platforms. So if you ever had a marketing class, you probably heard PPPPD. PPP means a lot of different things this day, but price, product, place, promotion, and of course your distribution. It used to be that an ad that you ran on regular media, TV, radio, billboards, would take about 7 exposures for people to remember it and to remember your product and to make a conscious decision to look for your product. When I wrote this, it took as many as 20 exposures. I would venture a guess that right now it might take more, but don't give up. You know, I have clients say, well, I spent $100 on a Facebook ad for a whole month and nothing happened. Well, you know, it might take a little bit more place and price to get that product where people want to buy it. And we'll talk about the difference. So here's the tick items that you want for your marketing plan. You need goals, and we'll talk about what those are. You need objectives, and we will harp on again and again, a measurable objective when you set an objective. We'll talk about strategy. How do we get to and solve our objective? What are the tactics that we'll use? Will it be an event? Will it be a program? Will it be an ongoing fund drive? And I'm also going to touch on nonprofits because I see quite a few on our list today. What's the tools? We'll pick some of our favorites. What budget do you have? And that will have an influence on how much you can do beyond the free stuff that I'm going to show you. And finally, evaluation. So let's look at what those are. Objectives can also be called your KPIs, or your key performance indicators. All that means is that you're doing what you want to be doing. So beginning with the end in mind, is there a measurable goal? So I'm going to use these same number 1, 2, 3, 4 in red, and I'm going to show you how those look different when stated in each step of the marketing plan. So you're looking at the end and you're trying to decide, what goal do I need? You might have a goal of increasing awareness and referrals, number 1. You might have a goal, as a couple of people do, to start selling your products online, and that's a different workshop, but we can do that one again. Your goal might be to get more social media followers on your Facebook or your Instagram, or more reviews on your Google page, or your goal might be something like an event. So we're going to use an employee recognition event here. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that if it is not measurable, you won't know if you succeeded. So let's look at how I would rephrase those objectives to make them measurable. Number 1, increase referrals to 12 clients per month. All right, so if this is a healthcare provider, for example, this person would like to get 12 clients per month in their referral funnel, and I'll show you a funnel in a minute. Number 2 person would like to just sell 3 products online for the rest of the month of June. They just kind of want to try it out. They don't want to commit to something fancy, or they don't have a website where they can host products, and maybe they want to use a constant contact shoppable page, but they want to sell 3 products. That's very measurable. If you don't sell those products in June, you know you didn't meet your objective. A third one is to increase engagement. Well, we all want to do that, but by what? And if I give it a number, if I say increase by 10%, I can measure whether or not that happened at the end of June. And then host employee recognition for 250 people. That's my objective in the month of August. So when you're setting this very first step, this very first objective, ask yourself two questions. Can you measure the success of a goal when it comes up? And can your objective support your goal? If your goal is more business, you really need to think about it. All right, let's look at strategy for a second. And I pasted these over here so I wouldn't forget to use them. So you don't have to look there. But when you're thinking strategy, so bullet number 2, is there a market? All right, you got to decide whether there is any need, or sometimes want, more likely need right now, any need for your product or your service. And the way you do that is you use some existing data. You use things like library databases, industry reports. What else could you use as a secondary existing data? Score data. You look for reputable sources that have information on your particular market and what your product or service could bring to that market. To collect your own data, are you asking your customers what they want? Ask them what you're doing well. Ask them what you could be doing better. Ask them what you're not doing that you want to be doing. And then ask them if there's stuff you're doing that they just don't care about anymore. All right, so our strategy, remember down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, these are our original objectives, and they're not measurable. I'm going to show you the morphing of them, is to ask existing customers. So our strategies are going to be different from our objectives or our tactics. Our strategy is the how we're going to make it happen. All right, number 2, I'm going to select the top three products for sale in case you wanted 6. I want to use engaging video Facebook posts because remember, we're getting more social media followers, and I can tell you that engaging video will really boost your Facebook engagement. And then number 4, we're going to develop the committee to plan the event. So you collect your own data by asking people. Then you need to look at the demographics. Who are the right people in the right place at the right time? What do they look like? What are their buying habits? What do they want versus what do they need? And our goal in marketing is always to solve a problem. So what is their problem? So the existing data, you can check with SBA, SBDC, SCORE. You can look at your competitors if it is, especially if it's an NGO or a nonprofit. You know, they may be publishing an annual report that says what they're raising in funds, what they're spending on advertising. So a lot of that data exists out there. And then you can rely on SBDC, SBA, all of those organizations to look at the economic conditions. And I think this is a really important one right now because we're all feeling like we're kind of pinched, and there's a certain number of people in our community who still remain without support services. And I don't want to negate that audience because a lot of folks are still waiting on PPP, they're still waiting on unemployment, or they're still waiting on a stimulus check. But the people who have received those funds are actually buying, they're shopping, they're donating. Some have signed their entire stimulus check over to their favorite nonprofit. So remember, if you don't ask, you can't get. But take that into consideration. Is the product or service that you're bringing to market, is it out of our reach right now financially? You know, I know when my business slowed way down back in March, I just started giving it away doing these webinars. And it's made me feel better, and hopefully it's helped a few people along the way. So that existing data is out there. Your own data, customer surveys, track your growth trends, all right? If you set an objective or a measurable goal, a measurable objective, track it. See if it happened. Are you getting more customers doing carry out? Are you getting more customers wanting dine in? Do you have a wait list, a reservation list? For example, my new client, is your carryout order average dollar amount increasing? So look for those things that say, yes, we're on the right track, or maybe we're on the right track. Let's give it another 6 months or another month or another 3 months, depending on how long your plan calls for. So the customer survey, and remember the need versus want. People have been in a situation of obtaining primarily needed items. If you don't believe me, just ask people in Michigan about planting garden plants in March. They felt that need though, and they were very vocal about that. And so one of the things that I had a client do, she was a florist, I had her do pre-packaged flowers to take to one of the locally owned grocery stores, which was considered an essential business. And she put them in that store, and she gave that store 50% of what she made on those flowers, which, you know, there's not that big of a markup, but it did a couple things. It kept her business going. It kept her in front of people. And she determined that at some situations, flowers, in this case, it was tough to get a birthday cake. It was hard to get anniversary cupcakes, but flowers were a need. And she found a way to share that through a local provider who was considered a critical business. Talk about demographics. Where's your customer? For 3 or 4 months here, we have been serving customers, those of us with brick and mortars anyway, we've been serving customers within quite a small radius. I would venture to say maybe 5 to maybe 10 miles away from their homes. And so, you know, this, where do they spend their time? They've been spending it at home. So how do you reach them there? Find out what they like to do. Are they going out? Are they buying? And this is changing daily now because we're seeing customer habits change. Do they subscribe to certain magazines? Do they have tattoos? One of the things that I do for a lot of my clients on Facebook is we follow tattoo pages and lost pets. You know, what better to follow and repost than a lost pet, because you know it gets shared over and over and over and over. So if you have an audience that might be inclined to share a lost pet, then post that. You know, think about who these people are. How do we get their attention? Are they outdoorsy? Are they athletic? Do they follow any professional sports teams? That's going to be a little tough right now. But always asking yourself, do they need or want your product? And finally, who's your competitors? The industry environment says that businesses will have competitors. If you find something that's really good and you do that well, people are going to knock you off. You know, I had a client who thought he would get online on eBay and sell Mandalorian socks. That was all he was a sock business. And he got all these beautiful designs drawn up by someone. And he got in touch with me, and I got in touch with an Amazon seller. And we went back to him and we said, you know, you can't deliver this product because you don't have the rights to use Baby Yoda. So he had a lot of competitors and he thought he could jump right on board with that, but turned out that he was kind of late to the party. I did see a couple questions on here about business to business marketing, and your most important factor here is who makes the buying decision. That's the person you need to reach. I had a roofing client, large company with multi-state offices, and their sales lead was convinced that men bought roofs. So I ran a simple $100 ad and I sent it to all women, and I sent the exact same ad to all men, and these were people who followed their Facebook pages. And by far, women were engaged more. Now, that doesn't mean that women make the buying decision, but let me ask you, who makes the buying decision? The woman makes the buying decision. They were selling to the men, okay? And that wasn't working for them. Can you deliver the product? I cannot find floss picks. I'm addicted to floss picks, and every time I go to my small store, they're out. So I went to the big store. I go maybe once every 3 weeks, and they were out. The entire wall of floss picks, nothing. I did find some at the checkout stand, but here's a situation where supply and demand. You know, if we could have manufactured hand sanitizer in the middle of March, A lot of breweries, a lot of distilleries jumped on that bandwagon, and they made hand sanitizer, and it was wonderful. And they didn't do it to make a profit, but you know, they covered, I'm sure they covered their costs. They weren't trying to gouge people. And then, is the industry for your product up? Is it raised right now, or is it flat? You know, I would venture to say that masks and gloves and sanitizers are still on the upswing. I might consider really large ticket items, although RVs are selling and bikes are selling, but you might think of large ticket items as maybe not being up right now. You have to check with your market. You have to know your product or your services. Here's how you think about it. How many customers are there that want your product? If you're in a teeny tiny little niche like cruises, I have a cruise person on here I want to shout out, you might not have as many customers as a takeout restaurant right now. You also will have a difference in how much you expect that customer to spend. If I'm looking at the new restaurant that I signed, their average carryout order is around $44. Well, they would like to obviously raise that, but they're not sure their audience is ready to spend that much yet. So instead of, if this happens to be a brewery, instead of pushing so much of the food delivery and takeout, we're now starting to push their home brews. It's a brewery, their liquids, as they call them, as well. And we think that that will raise that average carryout price. So, but we had to think about how much are they willing to spend? Can we bump them up just a little bit more? How many others serve this same group of customers? You can get takeout growlers all over. You can't get them refilled. Don't take them back because you can't get them refilled. But you can still get them, and you can carry them out. So you can order carry out brews now. However, there's a whole bunch of other restaurants in my market with carry out brews. So I have to consider, you know, who's there, what product do they have, are they in market? One of our biggest restaurants in downtown Kalamazoo has yet to open. So they're not a competitor right now. But then again, your competitive advantage, and let me give you an example of what I mean by that again. I took on a lawn care client, and I said, okay, lawn care, oh, and snow plowing, whee. But I sat with him, and we talked, and he told me about his business. He told me how he got started, and you know, it was all pretty routine until he says, oh yeah, I use all solar powered equipment in my business. And I did the palm to forehead and said, that's a competitive advantage because I can work with that. I can sell that benefit of no loud mowers in your yard at 7 a.m. to bother the neighbors. So we were off and running with this competitive advantage for a lawn care company. And then he says to me, well, I also use all organic based compounds on my treatments. Well, that was it. He was the cat's meow, and he had a really good year talking about those things and really educating people. We did a lot of work on his blogs, on his website, really educating people about the benefits of electric mowing and or organic. So how are we going to do this? We're still thinking about our market. So we have contact information for 900 customers. This is where I'm starting with this business. They have contact information. You can't market via email unless you have email addresses. So start collecting email addresses. Again, another workshop that we can do. We're telling our customers that masks and hand sanitizer are in supply. So that's in every restaurant, in all the restaurants that they run. Their staff is wearing it, their bussers, anybody that comes in contact, they have rules that they have to follow. How-to videos right now are really popular. Well, any video is really popular. So remember, we're still working with these 4 down here. Masks and hand sanitizer, how-to videos for more social followers, and we're going to invite 250 people and allow for a 10% no-show, just so we have something that's measurable. But see, we're thinking about what do our customers need or want from us right now. And I think right after this, I'll take a break, John. So we got to identify our competitors. We have to know how we compare to them in things like quality, customer service, price, value, location, convenience. And now we've added to that list safety. I'm not going to take a political stance, but there are some people who like to go into stores, restaurants, and wear a mask. There are other people who prefer not to wear a mask. I'm going to check that out to make sure that that business's safety protocol aligns with my preference for that. Okay, remember I told you about the marketing analysis and what we could ask if we were going to talk to our own audience or within our own group. You can pull a nonprofit board together. You can pull a focus group of customers. What's working? If it's working, don't change it. What's not working? If you need to change it, change it. What could we be doing that we aren't doing as missed opportunities? And what should we not be doing that we are? Okay, John, you have some questions coming in, or I'm going to pull a couple off the list.
Yeah, I had one just come in, and it had to do with building your email list.
Oh boy.
And this one was specific to if you've just met somebody, can you maybe just add them to a list that you currently have?
Maybe.
Or do you have to use an opt-in button?
Maybe.
So I think
Let me tackle that.
you've talked in previous webinars about a variety of different ways to collect email addresses, and maybe you could just take 30 seconds and just tick them off a little bit.
I don't do anything in 30 seconds, John.
Okay.
Okay, here you go. Number one, don't be a spammer. If someone hands you their business card and you tuck it in your purse or your wallet, and then 2 days later or 3 months later, you happen to pull that out and you add them to your email database, that could be considered spamming. Do not download a list of contacts that you had in your old job and add them to your email list and then send them emails. That could be considered spamming. So how do I get people on my email list? Well, you ask them. You can ask them at the point of sale when they sign up. You can have a little QR code that goes to a Join Our List app, and they punch in text to join, and they're on your database, and they're in there because they want to be. You can ask them at the end of a sale via email, online, on your website. If you go to cherybales.com, pretty quickly after you get in there, there's this huge pop-up that says join our mailing list. You can go to face-to-face events and collect business cards. Now, I told you you couldn't in the beginning, but this is what's different. You can if you make it clear, hey, can I add you to my mailing list to get news about events? Or, hey, I'd like to put you on my distribution list. We're having some specials come up I think you'd be interested in. So go ahead and put that fishbowl out. Go ahead and grab those cards from as many people as you can, or maybe these days just take a picture of it. But make sure you say to them, is it okay if I add you to my mailing list? They can always unsubscribe, and by law, you have to give them the option to unsubscribe. And when they unsubscribe, delete them. Do not test them by sending a couple more emails to them. Another thing that will get you in trouble is downloading a huge list that you've used before or you've bought from someone and uploading that. I would encourage you, if you are going to do that and you have more than 500 contacts, that you send your newsletters out in small batches to avoid it being flagged as spam. So instead of sending it to all 1,000 people, I would send it to 100. I think you can even get by with maybe 200. But if you send it to 1,000 people and you've never sent anything to these people before, you're going to get spammed. You're going to get notified that you are spamming people. And you don't want to do that because then your emails will not be delivered. So that's my rant on building your email list. Now, can you put all your relatives on there? Absolutely. Can you put all your friends on there? Absolutely. And my friends unsubscribed from my newsletter, but I put them on there because they know me. They're going to see it's from me. They're going to open it, and my open rate goes up. Yay. But yes, you can put all those people on. If you have an email account with Google, you can actually download your entire list of Google contacts and their emails. And I would put this in the maybe spammy category because some of those people I may not have talked to only once in my life. So I don't know, I might go through and weed out some of them. Does that help?
Yep, I believe that that helped. And then the only other thing before you go on, I just want to reiterate that your business plan works for whether you're selling products or services, right?
Yes, your marketing plan does. You can do events, you can do products, you can do services. It's just like a little scientific strategy that you can reapply to pretty much any situation.
Perfect. Okay.
Couple other quick questions I'm going to cover here that I have before I go further. I have someone asking about COVID-19 strategy for connecting with customers. Stay in front of them, number one. So don't slow down your marketing tactics. Don't quit posting to Facebook. Don't shut off your local business ads. Don't cancel your Google ads. You might reduce them, but keep marketing because if they are a customer of yours, they've been waiting for you to come back and to offer things. And keep in touch with those people. And the things they want to know are the basics: who, what, where, when, why, how. Are you open? What hours? Do you have dine-in? Do you have carry-out? Can we shop in your store? Do you require gloves? Do you wear gloves? How do you sanitize place? How do you wipe down your tables? All of those things people are just hungry to know. Remember, I gave you the example before they make a decision whether they want to visit your business or not. So that's my COVID strategy: is be honest, be straightforward. I have a client and they've struggled and they're not sure when they're going to go reopen. They were on the downtown Kalamazoo Mall, which was vandalized. So they've still been communicating with their customers and they've been saying things like, wow, I can't believe how hard this business owner thing is. I can't wait till we can get back to doing business and seeing all of our friends. You know, they're really being brutally honest with this. And I think people really do appreciate that. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? How does Google work? Oh, that's a long question. I'm trying to come back to that one though. How to launch new products online and offline. Make a marketing plan. We'll talk a little bit more about online in a second. How to market consulting services. Absolutely. This process will work. You have to identify your audience, your market, all the things that we've already talked about. So let's go to some tactics now. All right, remember we had our bulleted list and tactics is the ways down there. We're over halfway through that list. But this is our plan to accomplish the goal. What tactics will we use? So if we're asking if our goals are what do we sell, where, when, and how, what channels do we need, and what message or what call to action do we need, look at the ones down below. This time I put them in reverse order. So increase awareness. We're going to send a monthly email newsletter. Okay, that's a tactic that says I'm going to do this to make that happen. And I'll show you what tools we're going to use for that in a second. For Start Selling, I'm actually going to launch that, and I'm going to use a constant contact landing page. So my tactic is, I actually brought the tool in there because I needed it. But my tactic is to launch those products with a landing page. It could be any landing page. Our social media followers, we're going to record more how-to videos. We're going to record videos of our servers. We have all these lovely glossy promo videos that show all these happy crowds and parties and bartenders. It doesn't look like that anymore. So we need to get a better picture of what we're doing out there, and the way we can do that is to record some videos. And then our tactic for our employee recognition event is to find a facility and set a budget. That's what comes next. I mentioned I talk about the funnel a little bit, and this could be called the marketing funnel, the lead funnel, the sales funnel, I don't know, the chocolate syrup funnel. It's basically the path people take from discovery, where they go, oh, I need a rubber ducky, through, oh, rubber duckies from Cheri Bales are the best rubber duckies ever. So let's do a quick analogy here. If we're talking about casual engagement, we're talking about when you start looking at a neighborhood to buy a house. You just look at a few neighborhoods, you might drive around, you might see, you know, some families with kids that look like that'd be a good place to live. Um, but you're not really in a buying decision yet. So at this point, what we want to do as marketers is we want to get your attention. We're going to go, hey, you. And the way we do that is with our social media channels, a Google My Business page. And I'll answer a question before anyone asks. Do you need a Google My Business page if you don't have a storefront? Yes, you do. A Google My Business page is pretty much Google's version of Facebook. It's free, you can post, and it's the first thing that will come up when people search for your business. And that's why it's really valuable, and it can hold a lot of SEO keywords. And then of course your website, it's there if they want it. If I'm driving around and I see, you know, Joe Schmo Realtor, I can go look it up if I want to. And that's called intentional engagement. So now I've decided that I like that neighborhood. I kind of like that house. I'm going to go to the realtor page. I'm going to check out the website of the realtor. GMB is Google My Business. I'm probably going to go into some Facebook group, maybe first time home buyers, maybe next door, which is a local thing, maybe Angie's List. Whatever it is, I'm going to start actually doing my own research at the intentional engagement stage. So they're going to be looking on your website. If you got a lot of pretty buttons but no content on your website, they're not going to stay there. Google likes it when you answer the question that was posed in the search query fully. All right. So now we've reached intentional. We think we want to look in this neighborhood. We think we want to use this realtor. Let's make a decision. Well, at the decision point, this is the yay or nay. This is thumbs up or thumbs down. And you better be up to par with your website. It needs to have every question answered. They are going to start looking for reviews. They're going to want coupons. So here's a good place for people to join your email list. You offer 5% off your first purchase if you join our newsletter list or something like that. And lastly, and most importantly, they are going to ask for recommendations from their friends. And research is now showing, and it's not because of COVID, it was pre-COVID. Research is now showing that we as a buying public in general place more weight on the opinions of our friends, i.e. recommendations, than we do on the website of either the academic who has reviewed the product or service or the actual manufacturer. So we're going to buy something based on what our friends say. And if our friends aren't talking about my business, then they're not going to have that opportunity in front of them. So at this point, we've decided that we're going to use this realtor. We're going to buy this house. How are you going to make this happen for me? Well, it's going to be in the purchase stage. And at this point, shopping carts. How many of you have put something in a shopping cart, wandered off, and 20 minutes later gotten a notification? Hey, did you forget us? Finish your shopping. Oh, by the way, since you were gone, we think you want to bail on us. We're going to give you a 10% coupon. Oh, and we're going to throw in free shipping. If you don't have free shipping, build it into your price. Nobody wants to pay for shipping anymore. Maybe overnight, but build shipping into your door price. Again, social media will be really big here, and email marketing. This is what I would use for remarketing. If someone comes and they visit your site and they click into your shopping cart, you need to go find them and talk to them again. So at this purchase decision, I've got my realtor. She's brought me into her office. She said, we can get you X rate for interest. We can throw in X for closing costs. We can, you know, bring you dinner the first 3 weeks that you live in your house, whatever it is. They're helping push me toward that purchase decision. We're pretty good up to here. And I can sub in the word donation. This process is the same for donating. And if you make that purchase process or that donation process as easy as possible, you will push more people through the purchase phase. The last one, the advocacy or the advocate, this is your army, your boots on the ground. These are the people who have bought from you, who love you, who would probably buy again from you. This is where you can't leave them hanging. Again, email marketing, a thank you. Be careful with automated. I had a friend order a product. She got a thank you for ordering. She got a coupon for her next order. She got a, are you ready to place your next order? And are you ready to reorder what you just bought? I don't even know what it was. Before she got the product in the mail. So those are the kinds of automated emails that you can send out after someone purchases. Again, we're trying to keep that advocacy, that repeat business. We want them to make referrals. If you're in a big ticket real estate or auto or appliances or home improvement, you need that word of mouth. And it may be that they're members and you need to keep in touch with your members, and you may forget to have them renew. All kinds of things. You can't stop marketing after someone makes a purchase. Yeah, there's a bunch of tools out there that you can use. I just threw these in here because there's some of the more popular. Do you need them all? No. No, you really don't. I can maybe think of 2 or 3 industries that need all of those that are showing there, except for Foursquare, which is pretty much dead. So let's talk about tools. Tools are also called channels, and channels are how you get your message from you in your head into the hands of your customers, prospects, database, A-list, call it whatever you want. But this is how you get stuff to people. You may have a store, you may have a catalog. You should have a website. We'll talk about paid search a little bit later. You can use direct mail. That still has a really good return. You can use email marketing, TV, radio, which we call broadcast media. And then there's always the pile of social media channels. But how do you know which ones of these you need to choose? Well, I always start with the free ones, okay? Because that's where I have been most of my life, is in the nonprofit industry, Binder Park Zoo, and I've raised funds and worked with other nonprofits and events. These are the freebies that you can take advantage of, no matter the size of your business or the type of your business. News releases. People go, oh, I hate to write. Okay, well, reporters hate to not have anything to talk about. So writing a news release and sending it to your local business editor about hiring 3 new managers would be a great idea. It's free publicity. A news release for opening a new location would be appropriate. A news release for an event would be appropriate. This might take you a little digging because you need to find out who your media sources are in your market. But news releases are free, and you can find a template to write a news release online. It's, again, it's who, what, where, when, why, and how to make the sale. You have to make the sale. Facebook groups, those have gotten really big because a lot of, not just my clients, but a lot of SCORE clients have pivoted to online classes. And as a result, they're adding these support groups or these Facebook groups as backup. So I have a client who is a mental health counselor, and of course at the onset of COVID nothing was happening, and so she trained herself and made a big jump for her to telehealth. She also made a Facebook group where she posts conversation starters about COVID-19, and I think it's called COVID-19 support group. It's really a kind of a bland name, but it's working for her. She gets average number of comments. This is a very, very small practice. She gets 8 to 15 comments on every single question that she asks. Community networking, we're starting to be able to get out there again. Western has events, your local small business administration, SBDC, SCORE, although until further notice, we're gonna stick with webinars, I think. Co-marketing, I'm seeing a ton of this. I'm seeing a paint and sip business partnering with a lavender farm, partnering with a perfumery. And they've all gotten together to put this box set together, which you sell on your Facebook page. You pick up at one of the locations, and then you come back at a later date to a Facebook Live event, and they help you paint and sip and flower. It costs so much less to share the burden of co-marketing. Email marketing, beyond, if you have a very small database, you can probably do some of it for absolutely free using MailChimp or Constant Contact. I just read a story today that said don't use Google for email campaigns because it's not considered a real email marketing campaign. Talked about virtual events, referral incentives. So there's nothing that says you couldn't send out an email newsletter to people who have bought your product and say, if you refer a customer to me who buys, I'll give you an iPad. You know, everybody, roofers do it, big ticket house items do it. They give away, you know, a free tire. So some kinds of referral incentives, they cost you somewhat in the long run, but they may generate enough traffic to make up for the loss in revenues if you don't get them and you end up paying someone and then you don't book that client. And then obviously word of mouth referral. When's the last time you asked your friends, for me, hey, do you know anybody that needs help with their website? Or hey, do you know anybody that would like to use email marketing? Funny enough, they do. So don't forget to ask the people closest to you. Talk about what you do. When you get an opportunity, there's a group in Kalamazoo called 1 Million Cups. 1 Million Cups Kazoo or Kalamazoo. And every month they have an opportunity for entrepreneurs to stand up and make a Shark Tank pitch, basically, of their business and then get feedback from quote unquote investors. And it's all free. You can participate as a watcher. You can, you know, be a speaker, but you need your business and in my case, my name out there, that Cheri Bales, Cheri Bales, Cheri Bales has to be repeated. Then you can, using these tools, spend a little bit of money. And I've broken this down by electronic and web versus print. So electronic and web-based internet and streaming services are now a really hot place for a large majority of our population. So maybe if you have the ability, you should look into cable advertising or streaming, advertising on streaming. Even my little app that I play euchre on has a pop-up ad in the middle of it. Facebook ads, they are inexpensive for the number of people they reach. And real quick, a boost allows you to show that particular post to more of the people who already like your page. So it's basically telling the family. An ad allows you to reach a much larger audience on Facebook and to target that audience with some of those demographics we talked about earlier. Things like where they live, how old they are, whether they're college educated, whether they subscribe to Martha Stewart Living. All these things were for my roofing client. Whether they're frequent travelers, whether they're parents of children K-6 or 6-12, newly married, newly engaged. Lots of things you can look for in Facebook ads. Google ads, not so much. You just pick a couple of things like location and target those. But a Google ad I won't say the only, but is the only way that your name is ever going to be on the top of that great list when you type in location near me, whatever the service happens to be. You can't play high on the list with Google unless you spend money. What's an average daily spend? It depends on your industry. Anywhere from $6 to $150 if you're Pepsi. But you can probably get pretty good results around $10 to $15 a day. Again, don't turn it off because it's not working. Geotargeting, this is one that I'm actually just learning about. And I heard from my great friends at Midwest Communication, they can set up an app to ping when I get within 100 yards of Lowe's department store. And they will actually send me a pop-up ad for Lowe's. That's a little extreme, but it's out there. It's available for you. Also, your traditional print media. Don't forget newspapers are still out there. Some magazines are out there. Trade publications. Right now, I noticed that my issue of Golf Weekly went from 60-some pages an issue down to about 25 or 30 pages an issue. So they're hurting for advertising. It may be less expensive now. Make sure you've got everything on your print media, your business cards. Don't be crossing off the 616 area code and handing out business cards from 1987. Make sure you have new business cards and it has the right web address and how to get a hold of you by email and how to get a phone number to you. You can also use direct mail through the USPO. You can buy a database of addresses through any number of list suppliers. And I don't advise this frequently, but I had helped open a golf course this year, and that was kind of touch and go here in Michigan as well. One of the things that we did for them was a really, really heavy direct mail push and email push on memberships. And we opened, I don't know, around April 15th, April 20th. I don't even remember, no, May something. They have 1,700 members now because it was a too good to be true deal. I mean, red and green and act now and urgent. It was a $49 a year golf membership. So it really, that direct mail piece really worked for them. Probably the coolest thing I ever got was a next day letter as a pitch from an investment firm. Signs and banners. Don't forget your signs and banners. I mean, they're cheap for what they do. Pulled up to a restaurant I'd never been to. Well, I'd been to eat in, but I'd never been for carry out. And the kids wanted carry out, so I went. And I pulled into the driveway and it had said, you know, look for a carry out window. I couldn't see it anywhere. This place didn't have a carry out window. What are they talking about? Finally, the lady leans out of this tiny little cutout in the side of the building and waves at me. You know, if she'd had a big banner and a big sign, I would have just felt like they really had it going on and they were really ready. I'm seeing a lot of "we're open for business" signs. It's that obvious. It's that obvious. And then I love a series by Deluxe, D-E-L-U-X-E, Deluxe Court. You think of them for checks. They're also a marketing partner with SCORE, and they have a series called Main Street Revolution. And I believe it streams on Netflix and maybe Hulu. And they literally go into 6 small businesses in a town, write them a marketing plan, implement the marketing plan. And one of the things they talk about is your package branding and your takeaways. So my sip and paint lady, Colors and Cocktails, shout out to Lauren, when the COVID hit, I mean, she was just opening a site downtown on the mall. I mean, she didn't even get her doors open. And then she got her windows smashed. But she got packaging that said the name of her business and her website all over it. So all those boxes and takeaways that she was making for the take-home kits, they all had something to remind people that she was still there. And of course, your budget could be a factor in your ad implementation. Also, why and when to use these? Billboards and vehicle signs. Billboards, yeah, a Facebook post is like a billboard. So a billboard only gets people's attention if A, they're already looking for what's on the billboard, and B, you have a call to action on the billboard. So same roofing client had a billboard northbound 131, like north of Grand Rapids, and it just said their name. And I can't tell you their name, but it just said their name, no website, no URL. Well, you know, number one, they can't tell if that's working because no one's going to say, oh, I saw your billboard on 131 and whatever. They just say, oh, I saw it on the internet. So they couldn't track it. And then somebody commented to me that when they were growing up, they saw that sign. So it's been there for a long time. And they kept wondering why that person didn't get whatever job they were running for. So it was someone's name. So billboards, yeah, they're okay. Electronic billboards are great. Vehicle signs, I have a client with a very small cleaning company and they have a sign on the side of their car. Point of purchase displays, if you have the ability in your place of business to upsell right at the checkout, then you can use point of purchase displays. They cost a little bit more, but they might look really neat. Product photos and exhibits, having those photos taken professionally or at least with a good camera. You can do it with a cell phone camera. Exhibits, if we ever reopen to having conferences and stuff. Telemarketing, I don't like doing it. And then remarketing, and remarketing is what I mentioned. So if someone visits your website but doesn't buy a product, but they show interest in a product, you want to harvest them and you want to send them a follow-up message, email marketing, social media, whatever. And that's where you run into the cost. So we talked about, I can't even see this because this thing is in my way. I don't know how to move it. No, never mind. We talked about the call to action, and unfortunately I can't read what's behind my pop-up menu here, but I know what I'm talking about. The call to action, I can stay on the same page, is what do you want people to do? And I see so much marketing with zero call to action. So if you say book appointment, so see the first one on the left is click to schedule an appointment. That's a call to action. It doesn't say buy now. It doesn't say order online. It says click to schedule. Okay, that's not a bad call to action. If I want to get my tires done or my tires rotated, I will probably just click that button and go ahead and go right through there to the company and do my business. Get directions. This one's important, especially to storefront people. And yes, there is a way to hide your public address from Google. You have to put it in there first, and then you can go back and hide it. But if we're driving store visits, like I am with the restaurant, that get direction button is on Google, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on their website. We make it easy for them to do something. A call to action is do something. We also have the call now button. I love this. When you set up a Google My Business page, they allow you to have a call now button, and they track the calls. And I got with my restaurants and I said, you guys had 250 calls in the last 7 days. Do you know where those calls went? Well, we're not quite there yet, and that has to do with the evaluation. And then send a message. So I'm surprised by the number of people who use Facebook Messenger as a platform for doing business. And I'm one of them. If I'm thinking about going somewhere, first place I look is Facebook. If I don't get the answer there, I send them a message on Facebook. But the point being is without something, without asking them to do something, you're not going to get them to do anything. And how do we know if it's working? All right, if you want to calculate a return on investment for your marketing skills, and I get asked this all the time, well, how do we know it's working? Well, you as the salesperson are the only people who can answer that question. So I can push everybody I want into the funnel, but if you aren't asking them, where did you hear about us? How did you hear about us? Or you're not setting up campaigns that differentiate that by using a different link to your website, a different phone number, maybe a pass-through phone number, we're going to have a hard time telling you whether it's working or not. We can tell you that we can see increases in engagement. So engagement versus reach. Engagement means I did something. I liked, I commented, I clicked, or I shared. Otherwise, it's reach. They're driving past it on the billboard. And here, engagement, I talk about engagement with Facebook because it's not how many likes you have, it's how many people like your stuff and share your stuff. You can evaluate by clicks on the call to action button. One of my clients is a home health care agency, and you got to know that on their Google Analytics page, which is tied to their website data, I can tell exactly how many people clicked the contact us button, but even more importantly, I can tell how many people submitted the contact us button, and that's their call to action. So that kind of leads into the contact us forms. If I send you 6 people to your contact us button to get a free estimate, you're the only one who can tell me if they bought or not. So you got to keep track of that. Ask everyone, how did you hear about us? If they say on the internet, drill down. Ask them, well, was it Google? Was it Facebook? Do you remember? Because then you can say, oh, that $500 a month I'm spending on Facebook campaigns is doing something. But you honestly have to be the one to answer the question of how many leads converted to sales if you want us, marketers, to be able to tell you what your return on investment is. Here's 3 little quick things that I use to measure success. And some of these are better at tracking and some are worse, but let's say that you have a website and your website is tied to a Google Analytics account, and Google measures your website activity only. Google Analytics measures your website activity, has to be connected, but it will show you things like, this is a last 90 days down here. It'll show you 947 users, which is a 36% increase. Sessions is how many pages they actually came in and clicked and opened, and that's up by 25%. When you see red up, that's kind of confusing, but the bounce rate means people came to the page, just kind of looked around, didn't really maybe scroll, but didn't really click anything, and then they left the page. That's called a bounce. When I look for measures of success, these are the things I look at. I also look at session duration and how long did someone spend on your website. 2 minutes and 18 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but it's plenty of time to fill out your contact us form. And you can see what happened from April to May with this particular website. Another place you want to check, these are the big ones. The other place you want to check is on Facebook Insights. And if you go to your page, you might have to click more, but there's a button called Insights. And remember how I told you to get excited about engagement, but not reach? Okay, these are the best performing posts from this client's Facebook account. Video, number 1. Engagement, I get excited when the purple and the pink one are big. Photos, 115, so you can see it's lower. And just a plain old link out to another story, pretty darn low. These are the numbers we're striving for. Post clicks, comments, shares, likes, because once someone interacts with your page, even if they're not your friend, you can go get them and ask them. This is a quick tutorial on cost per click. If you're going to run ads on Google, these are the things that you're going to want to evaluate on your Google ads. And you run your Google ads from within your Google My Business account. So the way I measured return on investment for this client is they had 27 clicks. They paid $52 for those 27 clicks, and this was to their contact us, or no, this was to a blog. The cost per click, so I'm dividing what I spent by the number of successful clicks, is $1.95. Would you give me $2 to read your blog story? Probably. There were 5 users that clicked 27 times in 5 sessions, and nobody bounced, which means they did whatever it was I wanted them to do. They read the story. Last words, and then I think I'll just leave these up here for you to chew on while I answer a couple more questions that I've got here. How to budget. Again, I can give you some kind of best standards for daily for the generic business based on my score marketing and my research there. If you can spend $10 a day on Facebook, you will get people's attention. If you can spend $20 a day on Google, you will get some people's attention. So more on Facebook because it allows you to reach a much broader targeted audience. That's what I would say about budget. And there used to be a formula, like Pepsi spends 40% of its budget on advertising. That's not realistic for small businesses. And so it's basically whatever you can afford to spend. And then you need to find out if it's working, of course. Do I feel Pinterest could build an email list? Sure, if you can get people's emails from Pinterest, if you ask them to sign in to get a free copy of whatever artwork picture that you have on your website, or to get a white paper or an article that you wrote, sure, as long as you have permission or at least implied permission. For online sales, the best social media platform to use to market, Facebook. Facebook is the quickest one. You can actually sell stuff. That's Violet. Hi, Violet. You can actually sell stuff on your Facebook page now. You don't even need a website. How can I better market my online shop? Email. Get customer emails, and then if you sell something to them, go back and ask them if they want to buy something else. use a link to your shopping page. A lot of times people, as a call to action, just put in a link to their website, and I just land on blah blah.com. Well, what I was looking for is in that website, but if you don't take me directly to it, I'm probably not going to dig around and find it on my own, because someone else is going to take me directly to it. Example, if I type in very specifically red Asics pickleball shoes, women, size 10, near me, and it takes me to Nike's homepage, well, sorry, Adidas homepage or whatever brand they are, it takes me to their homepage and I have to start that search all over again. No, I don't think I want to. So I think when you're using your marketing, make sure that you're sending people to a site, a web page where they can take action. And if you can keep them on Facebook to make the sale, keep them on Facebook, because Facebook really likes that. How to market an online shop, I think email, Facebook, obviously. Gave you a link for how to do a marketing plan. How do you promote a book? Oh, that's not in that choose a publisher and distributor is not in my bailiwick, but certainly promoting a book would be offering people a peek inside, offering them free shipping, offering them a bundle deal. Buy this book, get that book with it. Limited offer, buy now, price goes up next month. All of those ways. I think explain Google. I talked about the importance. I talked about budget. If it's really limited budget and you have a product, keep it on Facebook and keep pushing money at it until you find the return on investment. The marketing plan, I'm giving you a template, how to market digitally and in print for art. I had this conversation, Anna, I know who that is, had this conversation with a young artist just the other day, and they basically needed to be on Pinterest, they needed to be on Etsy, they needed to be on Facebook, they need to be maybe on Snapchat, Instagram, I think I said, but print for art, I think it's all over the place. You want to choose the channels where you think your potential customers will be, and then you want to say the things that they want to hear that will get them to come to your place. A few marketing that we're too busy with material, how not to overwhelm the customer. Thank you, Rosemary, for pointing that out. Simple is better. We used to send out, I worked at Western Michigan University for 15 years, and we used to send out newsletters that were 3 and 4 pages long, electronic newsletter. They scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. But the new technology and the new train of thought is, I am trying to drive business with my email marketing. So instead of putting my whole blog story in my newsletter, I put a few, like the top 3 things with little bullets, and then read more, and I make them go to my website. Now that does 2 things. One, it makes my newsletter much more brief, so I don't have all this copy that people have to wade through. 2, there's a call to action, read more. 3, now I got them on my website, and at the end of that blog story, I'm going to point them at my contact us button. So I like that process. However, the too busy with material, don't put your logo on more than once, ever. Don't use more than 3 fonts unless it's like a birthday party. Don't use cursive font for anything unless you're getting married. Don't use Comic Sans unless you're a stand-up comedy. Don't use pictures that you cribbed off Google. Just go and take your own pictures. People are very forgiving and they would much rather see your actual stuff. But keep it simple. Your logo, your offer, a picture, some short text, and a call to action. And that should get you through that. This one is a little more, what do we have, like 2 minutes? Oh, I have bunches more. Products exclusive to members only. That's email. That's definitely an email at the beginning of the month. Members only sale, buy now, not available to the general public, save now, free shipping. You have to talk to them. You have to communicate with them over and over and over and over. The lady that I mentioned that had the consulting business also created a Facebook page for Black mental health resources. And that was a very private page. It was only open to, you know, certain people. You had to join, you had to ask questions. And these mental health experts now share their tips and tricks and their comments, and they post things to that group. You might think about that for your exclusive members group. Paid advertising for B2B, look at LinkedIn. Julie, I haven't even talked to you. I'll talk to you on the side too, but for B2B, LinkedIn is the big dog. It's really expensive. And it's not to say those folks aren't on Facebook, because the decision maker more than likely has a Facebook account and you can reach them. But true B2B marketing is either going to be direct mail, direct email, or probably mostly LinkedIn. Kind of the same thing with C2C, okay? If you're selling on Craigslist, or you're selling Purple mattresses or Apple computers, you're going straight to the consumer. You're not going through other platforms. And while it used to be those platforms like Purple mattress and Apple only sold to those very select few through their website, they're now using other media. They ran out of people to talk to, so they're now advertising on television, and they're on radio, and they're on cable. What's the last one here? Best practices right here. Let's see, target marketing, target diversity in a target market that has evolved. Yes, we must be diverse in our marketing, because we don't know who could be a customer. And the Black Lives Matter movement has made an impact on the way marketers talk about their business on social media. And, you know, it sometimes feels like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So if you're going to get on those causes or causes like that with your business, you're going to want to be very clear that the reasons that you're doing it. And you also have to be very clear about why it matters to your business. I mean, why are you relevant to the Black Lives Matter cause right now? What does your business have to do or offer or bring to the cause? Your target market will evolve. If you're targeting young folks, they're going to age out. If you're targeting old folks, they're going to pass on. So you do need to, and you might find that there's a whole new market that you hadn't thought of. For example, political rallies. It seems like the president's rally, again, not being political, stating news, the president's rally in Tulsa was not as well intended as the RSVPs would have led you to believe. Well, it seems like a very diverse market, not even voters, teenagers got involved on TikTok, and they started a process to suck up all of the available tickets and then not go. And I don't know any more than that. This is just unfolding, but instead of the 20,000 or 19,000 that the center held, only about 6,000 people were there. And it could be because these, I won't call them hackers, these activists, if you will, got in there and messed with the system. So diversity, it's a moving target. Your target market is a moving target. So how's that? John, did you get any other last minute questions coming in?
Nope, I haven't seen any, and you answered pretty much all of the ones that were submitted ahead of time, either just recently with what you're going through or through the course of the presentation. Hold on for 1 second.
Well, let me sum this up while you're looking. So,
all right, wait.
Obviously, you can operate your business without a marketing plan. We really are, but you can't really run your business. If you're busy every single day trying to figure out what to market to who and how, and you don't have some sort of an implementation plan, you're just going to wear yourself out. I signed a client yesterday. She's like, I know I need more content on my website, but I hate to write. Okay, that's why you hire professionals, because you got into business to run your business, and I got into business to do your marketing. John, question?
Very good. What's your opinion about Klaviyo as a platform?
I've never heard of it.
K-L-A-Y-V-I-O.
I have not heard of it. It has not popped up on my radar, and I've been doing this for 30 some years. So I would have to look at that platform and see what it offers. That is wonderful. If it's an email, or it might be an aggregator to send posts and emails. If that person would like to follow up with me, I'd be happy to look at it and give you my opinion. Quality, excuse me, quality is always better than quantity. If you post to your Facebook page every single day, and it gets to be mundane stuff, and it's always third-party Monday motivators or happy social holidays, you're not really doing yourself any favor, and you're wearing yourself out. Plus, if you're posting 5 times a day, you're gonna run out of stuff to talk about. No one, I shouldn't say no one, there might be someone on here, if you are, hooray, no one is at that level of engagement as a true small business owner, I don't think, that they have to be posting 5 times a day. You know, my clients are posted 2 to 3 to 4 times a week with some local things or happy holidays or things thrown in there. Quality is better. Make sure you use good pictures too. Think about your audience. Think about what you're going to say. Type it somewhere else and walk away and come back and look at that content and see if it says exactly what you wanted to say and how and to whom. Then set an implementation schedule. Oh, I was going to show you my implementation schedule. I'll do that real quickly because we have like 3 minutes left. Here's one. So this is a marketing strategy for a brewery, and it has the staff assignments, and then it has all the months planned out through the rest of the year and some. And then it talks about exactly what they're going to be doing. In this case, we're doing website development, also email marketing, also social media, also advertising. Don't forget analytics, and we're going after reviews. So those are all. Pardon?
You forgot to share your screen.
That one didn't work? Oh,
No.
all right. Let me hit it again. Sorry, guys. I had a different window up. Now,
There you go.
This is a spreadsheet. It's in Google Sheets, and it is pretty much, I've got my 4 objective goals here that haven't been quantified yet because it's a brand new client, talking about what they need to do to get their website and their Google Analytics tied in and working. Talking about what they're going to do as a monthly theme for marketing, and then also email marketing. We're talking about what they're going to have on their social media, talking about suggested advertising and when those ads would run. And don't forget to show some love to the Google Analytics, and don't forget to ask for reviews. But I basically schedule this out. I don't normally get a year out, but I usually schedule it out at least like 6 months or so. And that, I think, oh, that gets me to the back one again. Stop. I need to get back to, you have to bring it to the front before you can share. Back to that. Set an implementation schedule. Know about when things are going. Don't schedule your posts right down to the minute and the day.
Share your screen.
I'm sorry. Oh, gosh, this is so, I really want to switch back. Hold on. I thought that was it. No?
There you go.
Okay, good. All right. Let's go back to this. Still there?
Yep.
All right. Don't try to schedule your post down to the date, time, and minute, because you'll just wear yourself out. Make it easy to follow, and don't be afraid to do something different if it's not working. And if you still have questions, you can send me an email. Again, want to give a thanks and a shout out to SCORE of Kalamazoo, Southwest Michigan. That's wmi.score.org. You can find your own mentor there. If you want to send me an email, I'll send you a link to my 5-step marketing strategy ebook, and you can see how a sign in, log in, capture your email works. Or you can look me up on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. And a big thanks to the SBA as well for today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Cheri. And we appreciate everybody who was able to participate. As Cheri mentioned, we'll be sending out a link in the next day or so with the recording for this. And again, any questions you might have, feel free to reach out directly to Cheri, and I'm sure she'll be able to help you.
Hey, thanks everyone. It's 5:19 and I took up 4 extra minutes of your time. So I appreciate being here, and watch for the recording to come in an email. That's all I have. Thanks very much for joining us.